The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
This is Duck Insider.
Give it to Verdell. He's got the first down and go! Duck fans start celebrating. Oregon is the 2019 Pac-12 champion. The 2020 Rose Bowl champion.
Richardson, another open three. Good! Duarte dribbles and slams with the right hand. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champs.
Foley three. Good! Foley ball. Down Shelley. Three ball. Good! Regular season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Oh, it's Friday. You know what that means? Tomorrow, Toyota OSN Classics. And Toyota OSN Classics are going to be great because we're listening to the Rose Bowl tomorrow. This also, and this is important, the Ducks are scrimmaging tomorrow. That's right. It's the second scrimmage of the fall camp for the Ducks. That's a really big deal. It's a really big deal for a number of reasons. One, because it's football, and we get to, talk about football and see football. But the other reason it's a huge deal, it's going to be a big evaluation day for the coaching staff. Joe Moorhead, Andy Avalos, the two coordinators for this team, they met with the media today. We have that for you coming up later on in the show. They actually just ended the press conference if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour. So we'll have that for you coming up. And we also will have an interview with Ken Wilson. He's the Oregon Linebackers coach, and he talked a lot about these young linebackers, but also some of the guys like Dru Mathis and Isaac Slade-Matautia who have been here a while and know what they're doing. We're going to hear from those guys coming up today as well, a little bit from Dru Mathis. So here's what we're going to do. Wait, I just got to say first, the Rose Bowl is going to be on the radio tomorrow.
It's a good
one.
The
2020 Rose Bowl. 2020 started out so good. Can we just all go back to the first day of 2020 and just sit there in blissful ignorance with the San Gabriel Mountains in the distance, sunshine and 70 degrees because that's always what it is for the Rose Bowl? I mean, that's the dream.
Sunset.
Exactly. Let's just go back to that for a moment. So that's going to be the game that we relive with you. Also, starting at 11 a.m. across the Oregon Sports Network tomorrow, we'll have our pregame show, which Terry Johns will have some interviews from Oregon football, talking about what's going on in Oregon football right now. That's on the horizon coming up tomorrow, Toyota OSN Classics. It's time to hear a little bit about linebackers. So Ken Wilson, you're going to love hearing from him. If you haven't heard an interview with Coach Wilson before, you've missed out. He's very, very good at what he does and is a heck of a recruiter, as you can note, of course, with Noah Sewell and Justin Flo showing up at Oregon. And let me tell you, those guys look like the real deal. They are the real deal. Ken Wilson, we'll hear from him, and then also coming up, Joe Moorhead and Andy Avalos. That is your show for today because we'll have a lot of interviews. Ken Wilson, Oregon Linebackers coach, he met with the media late last night.
Let's start with your two main freshmen. We know they're getting second-team reps a lot, and hearing great things from pretty much everybody. Your initial impressions of Justin and Noah so far this fall camp?
Well, they're learning. They're on a steep learning curve. They're working hard at it. Not having spring ball and an extended fall camp has put them under pressure to learn fast. And I think our veteran players, the older guys, are really doing a nice job of helping them learn the defense. Obviously, they're quality athletes. I mean, they're big, powerful, strong. I mean, all the things that you would want from a linebacker. We just got to direct them. They got to learn. They just got to play ball, play together, play with the older guys, and get into the depth there. And they're all battling for positions.
I've been hearing a lot of really good things about Isaac and Dru and the leadership department in addition to their play on the field. Talk about what you're seeing from those guys in terms of how they're leading this unit so far this fall camp.
Well, I think it's always interesting. Every year you wonder who your leaders are going to be, especially when you have such good leaders that were leaving the program. A Troy Dye is a hard guy. You don't know who's going to take over. And over the summer and the fall when the players were actually able to start doing some stuff together. We have a group thread with the linebackers, and Isaac and Dru are texting all the freshmen, hey, meet us over here at the field at 9 a.m. Saturday, and we're going to walk through with you. And, I don't know, you just kind of, you feel proud. You feel like you're doing the right things when your older guys step into those roles and don't shy away from it. And not only do they want to be great players, but they want to help the young players be great. And, I've been really, really happy with both those guys. I mean, obviously they're in battles for their positions too. I mean, there's some good linebackers there nipping at their heels every day. So, but I'm really happy with how they've taken to it and how they've helped the younger guys, knowing that that's what's best for this team.
Hi, Ken. Curious your guys' decision to move Isaac from Mike to Will, and just kind of what have you seen from him and his overall growth with that move?
Well, I mean, that position in this defense, the Will position in this defense is a position that is the highly valued, the most valuable, position as far as all the things that you have to do. And that's why Troy was in that spot last year and why he really had a great season through even those injuries. But we feel like Isaac at that position can be a very highly functional guy, a guy that can make a lot of stats for us at that position. He's a pass rusher. He's a really good cover linebacker. Obviously, he's a good tackler. He does a lot of things that we think we can utilize at that position. That not only was he a really good Mike, but now you get two Mikes out there on the field because he's called the defense for a year, so he knows and can help whoever's in there with him get all the calls out and be in the right place, and he can have the best season he possibly could have at Will linebacker.
What is it like bringing up the 4 new linebackers you guys brought in up to speed in a very unconventional year, and just with them not being on campus for so long?
Well, I mean, we've all become really good at Zoom meetings and special meetings on the side, all summer long, getting them on and trying to teach them defense and just how to play football at the college level without actually having them out on the field. And the lucky thing is for me that they are all highly motivated guys. They're all smart guys. The defensive coaches here were recruiting them to play in this defense, which is nice. They have those kind of skills, and they get pushed, man. They've been pushed all summer long from morning to night to learn what we're doing, because we know that position needs them, and we need them on the football field as part of these packages. And they've embraced it. Sometimes I tell them, if you don't know everything, just run fast and hit somebody, and they'll all do that. So that's where we're going from there, and then we're teaching them as we go.
You've been doing this coaching thing for a bit now, obviously starting at Nevada and more recently at Washington State. Year 2 here now at Oregon. I'm curious, what are some of the lessons that you've learned as a coach from your time here at Oregon?
Man, I tell you, I've learned a lot about the process and how to get a team ready from our 4th quarter program. I think Coach Cristobal and how we are structured here and how these players are developed and how the demands of them are the same at all times and how they know what's ahead of them every day. And it's demanding, but they know what's coming, and just how this organization is run from top to bottom. From the athletic director, Rob and how he runs this business. I've just been really impressed. I'm just so thankful that I get a chance to be over here and give my little part to it. But, how we go about everything here and how these players know the system, know the structure, and are able to function and go forward because there are no variables there. They walk a straight line there, and they know what they got. And we just go about winning football games and getting college degrees here.
Yeah, and just wanted to sort out where's Jackson and MJ. Is MJ working at Mike with Dru, and where's Jackson at, just as far as which side? Because I know freshmen usually stick on one side. Yeah, well, actually, MJ's playing the Will position. MJ can play both, but he's playing the Will position right now. He's getting some good reps over there. Jackson's playing Will and Sam, so he's kind of the split guy for us right now. He's got some edge history. When he was in high school, he was more on the edge, an edge rusher. We're training him as a Will and as a Sam to help us in some of our base packages. And all those guys, all those guys have their roles right now, and they're all trying to expand their roles and get better. We got Nate Hukalani and Nick Wiebe in there. I got a walk-on named TJ Gilbert that came in. Those guys are all – I'm happy with all of them. They're all big guys. They're all love football, and
you know, my job just to let them play and sort it out and let the best players play in each situation.
You have 3 new freshmen inside linebackers, and everyone's talked about Noah Still, everyone's talked about Justin Flo, but Jackson LeDuc's kind of been lost in the shuffle a little bit, yet he's outstanding in his own right. Talk a little about Jackson LeDuc and what he's bringing to the table for you this fall.
Well, you know, Jackson in high school was played on both sides of the ball. He was a very explosive pass rusher. He played running back. He played edge, tight end, H-back at his high school down there. He's big, strong, explosive. He's helping us on special teams right now. He's a very intelligent kid. He's playing 2 different positions as a true freshman, which not a lot of the other freshmen are doing right now. And, you know, he's making his mistakes here and there, but he just grinds forward, and he's an extremely tough guy, and you know, I just think the future's bright for all those guys. You know, if you watch them all 3 walk into a room, you'd be really impressed with the size and the demeanor and how they go about their business.
Dru, I thought, said something today was pretty remarkable. He said he's really taking Noah under his wing and trying to show him and make sure he's up to speed. And at the same time, they're competing for the same job. As a senior, I think that's pretty cool to do. What have you just seen from that relationship from those 2 guys, and just kind of those 2 players competing for a job and helping each other at the same time?
Yeah, well, you know, Matt, I think that speaks a lot to the culture of this program. You know, I think there's a lot of players around here that are more concerned about winning than they are about personal accolades or how much their playing time is. They certainly want to play and they compete, but I think the culture of this program makes it so they want to win, more importantly, for the team than for themselves. And, you know, Matt, and when they're up there, when I've got Noah and Dru sitting in the top row of my meeting room side by side going over notes every time I do something, that's a good thing in your program. And then now once they all know, then they just compete like crazy. You get the best players out there. But you know, that's the way it's been, and I think that's why this program's going in the right direction, because of how that culture goes throughout our locker room, offense and defense. And there's a lot of guys that help each other from young to old. You know, those young guys are helping the old guys too. You know, they're pushing them to be better football players also every day.
Ken Wilson, Oregon linebackers coach. He met with the media last night. Talking about Dru Mathis, we're going to hear from him a little bit coming up. Also, Andy Avalos, Joe Moorhead, they just wrapped up their press conference, and I can tell you that Scott Phillips' keyboard is on fire over there because he's editing so quickly. Good work, Scott. Good work. Again, 80s keyboardist between 2 desks. Yeah, that's right. More with Ken Wilson. Talk about that linebacker position. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Back inside the Country Financial Studio next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics, because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Learfield IMG College.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. I had no idea how hard it would be and what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and ways for me to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing. Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack with you inside the Country Financial Studio. We were hearing from Ken Wilson. He was talking about Dru Mathis. And, if you missed his interview, we haven't played it yet on Duck Insider. You can find all the interviews, of course, on the Go Ducks YouTube page that we've been doing. Thanks. Shout out Scott LeBounty for recording and his crew for setting up these remote press conferences. It's really quite something. But Dru Mathis is a guy who went D1 down in San Diego, decided it wasn't a right fit, went to junior college, and then ended up playing here at Oregon, and now as a senior he's going to start, but he's still just such an ultimate team guy. I totally echo what Matt Preem asked Ken Wilson there a little while ago, that it was just – it's such a team thing to do. It does speak to the culture. We're going to continue talking linebackers. Ken Wilson, he spoke to the media a little bit more from the Oregon linebacker coach.
Sounds like you got a lot of talent at the linebacker positions. A lot of times teams, there's quite a difference between the ones and the twos. You have enough talent that you can, barring attrition, hopefully no injuries, that you're going to be able to play a lot of players, keep them fresh? Or how do you look at that ideally?
Well, I think I've had a long history of coaching in this manner that I tell them I love all of them equally. I love all my linebackers equally, but I'm going to play the guys that I can trust in every situation. So it's their job to compete, gain the trust of the defensive coaches and the position coach to put themselves in. And if we have a bunch of guys that we can trust, we're going to play them all over the place. I think you saw that last year with guys playing. We had linebackers playing D-line. We had outside backers playing in. Like, we're moving guys. We have, Javon Holland playing safety and linebacker and nickel. So, we are going to give them as much as they can handle on their plate. And if we can trust them to play, we'll play as many guys as we can. And it's going to be a long season. And we don't know, right now how that season is going to play out. So we got to get all of them ready to play.
Ken, just wanted your perspective on Dru's journey in that. I don't have to revisit it all with you, and I don't have to tell you how unlikely it is, but I don't want it to be cliche, and I know you're not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, statistically, the guy who starts in the G5 because his brother was there, leaves and goes to a JUCO most people have never heard of, moves up into the Power 5 to become a starting middle linebacker, and was recruited by a guy who his position coach left shortly after signing him. Just how unlikely was all this?
Well, I mean, you hear great stories all the time about players that do that, but I will just say this about this one. He is as conscientious and as hardworking as any player that I've ever coached. And last year when he had to play Will for a while, he started here. When I first came here, we had him at Mike. We dumped him over to Will because of Troy got banged up there for a bit. And then after the season, we went through the spring. We were going to play him at a different position. Then we moved him back in the summer because we thought that was what's best for the team. He's never once blinked. He just gets in his playbook. He studies. He calls me. He texts me. He watches every video that I send him. And he has a high care factor for this program. And that's why he's doing what he's doing. And I think he's going to have a great season. I look forward to getting him out on the field.
Ken, sorry if this is a little bit repetitive from a previous question, but we're seeing these linebackers and players at any position really just so athletic and getting asked to do a bunch of different things. When you get a backer into your program that's maybe a little bit on the larger side, what is that conversation like maybe with Coach Avalos, rest of your staff, about maybe he's an edge rusher versus maybe a traditional linebacker?
Yeah, I think with us, players are the size of the player these days is not what we're. Obviously we want them as big and as fast as we can, but their techniques and what they do best is where we put them in the scheme. And if a 240-pound guy can help us pass rush off the edge, that's great. If a 260-pound guy can help us at Mike linebacker because he moves and has those kind of skills, we'll use them there. And I think that's what Coach Avalos does a great job of, and the D staff here, of evaluating what we have and utilizing them in those fashion. In the bowl game, we moved Kayvon in as a 3 technique. You know, we moved Mace Funa as a Mike backer in some of the packages and blitzed those 2 guys up the middle and got some serious plays in the Rose Bowl with those. So, you know, I'm not so sure that it's about all that. You know, if you see Justin Flo, Noah Sewell, Jackson LeDuc, Dru Mathis, I mean, those are some big guys right there. And you put Mace Funa, Jaden Navarrete, some of the guys, you know, I mean, you know, you got, you know, obviously Kayvon, you got Ajax. I mean, there's some good-looking talent there. And we just got to find the right spots for all those guys and make it so they can be productive and they know what they're doing and they can help the defense in the best way they know how.
Long pause for Ken Wilson. I thought that he was going to get one more question, but we couldn't hear the question. It happens. See, so it's funny, though. Coach Wilson there was talking about just how they decide where to put each person. I thought that was super interesting because it's always a conversation. I always will remember this. Nick Aliotti famously said, like, we recruit all these defensive backs, then they're so talented they end up playing offense. Remember Kenyon Barner? Kenyon Barner was going to be a defensive back. Like, that was how it started. It was really amazing just to think about all those different scenarios and all the different guys that can play different positions. Jackson LeDuc is one of them. Played on both sides of the ball in high school, and the Ducks have him playing linebacker. Interesting stuff with Ken Wilson, Oregon linebackers coach. Let's get a quick timeout. Come back. We're going to hear a little bit from Dru Mathis, also Andy Avalos, Oregon defensive coordinator. Scott's been editing that to get it in, and we'll have that for you coming up. Busy day on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Back inside the Country Financial Studio, next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar presents an original that's now maybe even better. Mary had a little lamb.
Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar with the same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. Let's taste was as good as the original, maybe even better.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. As good as the original, maybe even better.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
All right, everybody in the car, let's go.
What are we gonna do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing too?
I don't see why.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not that far, sweetie.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.
Already?
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
They say that car crashes happen in slow motion. The reality is that crashes happen fast. There's no time to think and no time to check if your child is in the right car seat. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your kids in the right seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Get more info at safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Heard from Ken Wilson, Oregon linebackers coach, zeroing in on that position. Now Dru Mathis. We saved Dru Mathis' interview with the media for today to really zero in on linebackers before we hear from the coordinators who just talked to the media today. Again, scrimmage starting tomorrow, or I shouldn't say starting, but scrimmage is tomorrow. Ducks will work out, and it's a big evaluation day. And speaking of that, Tobiah, he asked, I haven't heard much about the wide receiver position this year. Who are the ones and twos? Well, it's for the most part been Micah Pittman, Jalen Redd, working at really different spots. Jalen's been inside a little bit. Micah's been inside a little bit. They've played them all at different spots. Then, of course, Johnny Johnson on the outside. I mean, Johnson is the leader of that unit. But Devin Williams has really flashed for the Ducks. And Chris Hudson as well. Mario Cristobal continues to note just how good Chris Hudson has been. Good stuff on the linebackers, though, as well. And the wide receiver position, though, I think it's actually going to be a pretty talented group to buy, if that means anything with me saying that. Dru Mathis, Oregon linebacker, a senior who's really had a heck of a journey. He talked a little bit about that and some of the keys to practice so far with Dru Mathis, who has been running with the ones at linebacker.
Drew, I asked Coach Cristobal the other day, I said, name some things that have been standing out to you in fall camp here. And one of the first things he mentioned was, he said, under the leadership of Dru Mathis, the linebacking core has been excellent, et cetera, et cetera. But why did he phrase it like that? What have you been doing to make him say that to us?
Well, first, I want to give props to Isaac Slade. He's also a very, very big leader in the linebacker core. But me and him have just been really working with the younger boys, and taking them under our wing and just teaching them, the defense and schemes and stuff like that, and doing extra work. Sometimes when we have off days, we'll just tell them, we'll be at the facility going over some corrections if you want to come, and they'll come, and we'll kind of just take them under our wing and, teach them everything they need to know.
Drew, with Isaac moving over to the weak side, just what goes into that for you in terms of making the calls at middle line? I know that it's not mutually exclusive. I mean, you talk to each other and the like, but just what goes into playing at middle, and how comfortable are you over there?
For sure goes a lot with, making calls and adjustments and stuff. Isaac does a great job helping me out with that stuff because I am sort of new to it, but it's something I got to, improve on in talking and communicating. And if I said I had to work on something, it'd definitely be more communicating when I get out there a lot. I kind of, sometimes get quiet a little bit or, let Isaac do the talking and stuff. But when I remind myself to communicate, I do a well job doing it. It's just something I got to, continue to keep improving on and whatnot.
Hey, Drew, speaking of leadership, what are some of the main takeaways you learned playing with and observing Troy Dye?
A lot from his actions. I mean, he's a man of his actions for sure. When you watch him play, he's a playmaker. He knows the defense. That's someone who really knew everything. He really messed up, and he was definitely a leader by example for sure in what he did. And he taught me a lot too with talking and just kind of he saw me, and I'd kind of go out there and be real nervous to mess up, and when you play nervous, you do mess up. So he would always remind me to just go out there and just be calm and do everything, in a calm manner. Because when you play calm ball, you can really concentrate on things and you won't really mess up. And, that's something he would always, rephrase to me and tell me,
Yeah, Drew, I'm just kind of curious, what did you learn from this scrimmage and about this defense, and what's kind of the carryover to the one on Saturday? What do you want to see improve?
One thing I want to improve, obviously communicating. I want to communicate more, and, communicate is definitely a big one. Maybe some pass coverages and drops and stuff. When I drop to the boundary and in some of our coverages and stuff, just knowing, on where my landmark is and where I need to get to. And, when a new number goes out, someone's coming in, and just more of, techniques and fundamentals and stuff, and just always priding myself on just being aggressive and tackling and finishing plays and running to the ball. And, really just run into the ball. And at the end of the day, I just want to leave the field knowing that I gave them all, and I didn't, loaf or kind of give it half a job or something like that. I just really want to give it my all. So that's what I've been really working on.
Hey, Drew, thanks for doing this. Just wanted to ask you, what were your biggest, I think, things that you wanted to improve on from this off season, and especially it being so different than in years past, going into this year, knowing that you were going to be one of the older guys in that linebacking core?
Obviously for off season stuff, getting bigger, stronger, faster. And coming from a, football perspective, just knowing the schemes better and knowing the defense well. When I first started playing, I was playing Will, so I kind of adjusted back to Mike. So it's something I got the bread and the butter of the position. It's just little small details I need to continue to keep improving on, and just it's small stuff. It's small stuff I know. Like if I mess up, I know what I did and I can correct myself. It's just going out there and not making those mess ups. So that's something I got to really work on, because I can go out there and you know, my play, if I do something wrong, Coach Wilson doesn't even really have to tell me. I can sit there and tell him what I did wrong. So I know what I have to do. Is just when I go on the field, I just got to eliminate all those little mistakes that I do make when I'm out there.
You know, at this mic spot here, who are some guys that are challenging you for playing time, and kind of what's that competition been like? I know it's a mix of older and younger guys.
Who I know who's getting twos and also works with ones is Noah Sewell, and he's doing a great job. He's going to be a great athlete. He's picking things up real well too, and we even, you know, help each other out and stuff. It's never, it's competing, but I mean, at the same time, you know, we both work with each other. He always asks me questions, and I always ask him questions sometimes. And it's like, you know, I take him under my wing, and he'll ask me what he has on this. And our lockers are like right next to each other. So in the morning when we're in the playbook and stuff, and before meetings, we'll always, you know, kind of quiz each other for we know what we're going to do when we go out on that field, even on walkthroughs and stuff like that. Like, it's never bad blood or nothing. You know, we're good friends, and we both help each other out, and we always push each other. You know, whenever anyone makes plays, we go up to each other and let them, hey, that was a nice play. You did good on this and that. And if you mess up, like, hey, what was the call? Okay, it was that. You did this. You're supposed to do that. It's always good and always encouraging with each other.
Drew, I remember when I scouted Noah Sewell and Justin Flo when they were in high school, and I thought to myself, man, you know, they're ready to play. You know, they're ready to go. How close do you think those two young freshmen are to being ready to play Pac-12 football?
Very close. Yeah, they're very close. I don't really see them waiting any time, you know, any long. Justin's been, you know, doing great on special teams and stuff, and when he gets in on those reps, you know, he's always very aggressive, and we just have to remind him to stay up, you know, because he loves to hit, and that's good being at linebacker. So I think they're both very close, and you know, they will see playing time this year. So it's going to be exciting to see them both play.
Drew, stylistically, between the two inside linebacker positions, I know even when we saw you play last season and when Troy was out at times, that's a really much more downhill position. Whereas Mike, like you talk about dropping into coverage, I mean, Isaac led the country at linebacker and passes defended. So how much more are you going to be asked to drop into coverage compared to, you know, being downhill when you're on the weak side?
Obviously a lot, you know, a lot of it is passing, you know, going into coverage and stuff. So that's good though, because it's something I can improve on. So I think playing Mike will be good. You know, I've got a couple interceptions. Being at the right place today, I had one off a tip ball. You know, Jamal Hill did a great job just kind of breaking the pass up, and I was right there at the right time. So, and it's fun. I like dropping back into coverage. It's fun. Being able to be back there and, you know, be able to try and get the ball and make an interception or make a play on the ball or make a big time hit. So it's something I'm getting more comfortable with, but, you know, it's something I still need to improve on. And Coach Wilson, Coach Avalos are doing a great job working with me. I know their patients are real, like, you know, they're real patient with me. And if I mess up, you know, they always explain, you got to do this, you got to do that, which is really helping me too. And all these.
That's good stuff from Dru Mathis. Really cool story with Dru Mathis. I'm rooting for him to just have a great season for the Ducks. So up next, we're going to hear from Andy Avalos talking defense with the defensive coordinator. He talked to the media today before the Ducks' second scrimmage of camp tomorrow. Andy Avalos. Have that for you next. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, back inside the Country Financial Studio next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
All it takes is one drop to make a wave. One beat to inspire a track. One spark to get creativity flowing. With every drop, Life Water refreshes your mind and restores your body. Purified water, pH balanced with electrolytes for taste. Designed with original works of art on every bottle. Let us be your source of inspiration. Life Water, the feel-good water.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics. This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum. That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe. I didn't know the trees were so amazing. Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb. That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Today's show brought to you by North Fork Public House, open for dine-in and takeout, northforkeugene.com. Picks are back, not next week, but the following.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we got picks. Jerry and Jorgie are going to join us on that television over there.
I don't...
That's actually the plan, everybody. Like, they are going to be on that TV.
But somebody hasn't paid still from bought the lunch thing.
Yes. So that's fine.
Come on, Jorgie.
I mean, Scott, COVID.
You know, Jorgie's going to use that as an excuse for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do it, COVID.
Jerry will.
Yeah, Jerry.
Jerry, well, they both will. I would do the same thing if I were in their position. I would 100% do the same thing. I'd be like, no, we can't do this. Anyway, picks are going to be back. Yeah, we're going to do that again. Hey, Coach Avalos, apparently today, we were listening to the press conference, and then Scott got it into our system for you to listen to. He said that Oregon's facilities, it's like the Disneyland of football. That's a great quote. That is a great quote. Andy Avalos with a lot of great quotes talking to the media today.
We were chatting with KT earlier in the week, and he was talking about how now his goal is perfection in alignment, assignment, and technique. And, I mean, I know that's obviously something you want any player to strive for. How far away was he from that?
You know, I think it's just a matter of consistency. You know, him understanding and knowing what he's supposed to do and how he's supposed to do it. Just building in the consistency, not only with him, but with everybody, with all our veterans and all our young guys. That's what we're trying to achieve. You know, if we want to improve our execution, it starts with our discipline, you know, and our discipline is being more consistent and having that right mindset every single day. And we're growing in that direction, and there is no doubt we're growing in that direction. We just, you know, it's a high standard here. The guys are in school right now as well, and we're not letting our foot off the pedal. We're pushing forward, and the standard is a standard.
Well, let's kind of talk about this pass rush a little bit more. I'm curious. Obviously, KT's a pretty known commodity. Who's working behind him in that primary role, and kind of what are some other names to know in terms of guys that you can get after the passer for you this year?
Well, we feel pretty good about the depth there in the front overall. With the D linemen, with the edge players, you know, obviously Kayvon is extremely effective. We call it, you know, everyone's got a havoc rate that we chart throughout camp, every single practice for all the reps, you know, in pass rush situations. And Kayvon's got a high havoc rate, as well as a few other guys, you know, that like Adrian Jackson, you know, a guy that's popped up that has had a high havoc rate, as well as Dru Mathis. And then interiorly, we got guys, you know, like Austin that have experience. Dorless for an interior guy. Dorless has done a really good job in camp as well. Some young guys like Braden Swenson that are coming along. So we feel pretty good about the depth we're building there, and, you know, obviously our ability to attack the pocket.
Andy, hope all is well. Good to talk to you. Just wanted to get your perspective on something. You know, these scrimmages you guys are having, it's pretty in close comparison to what the season's going to be like, more than a normal year, given the fact that there are no fans. There's not as much crowd noise as there usually is. Just from your perspective, what are some of the, I guess, advantages to not having fans in stadiums from a defensive side of the ball when it comes to maybe communication or even on road games, as I'm sure you'd probably love to have fans there as much as possible for your guys' sake, but what are some of the advantages?
You know what? From our standpoint, there's the good and there's the bad. There always is, right? With every scenario. I mean, for us right now, on defense, we're used to operating without being able to hear each other, and so that's the fun part of the game too, is having the crowd noise and all that stuff. But obviously the circumstances, have changed, and the age old saying of, you gotta practice like you want to play, and the atmosphere that it is, it ain't gonna be much different than practice, right? We just came from the stadium right now and practicing in there, and the scoreboard was on, which is awesome. The new scoreboard is unbelievable. Pumped a little crowd noise in there, but it ain't gonna be much than that on game day. And so, for us, that challenge every single day to bring that positive energy, that positive juice from our leadership, and to handle the situations, not only that we pose in practice, but to do it and create our own energy every single day. Because as you said, that's the way it's going to be on game day.
Hey, Andy, I was wondering, do you have a sense of what the challenges are going to be like for Pac-12 defensive coordinators to face a Joe Moorhead scheme, or do you not really focus on that? Are you kind of just dialed into what you guys are doing? What do you get a sense from the offense so far?
No, they've made tremendous progress. It's exciting to see what they're doing as a whole, and then collectively, individually, player-wise. There's guys out there making plays. You can see the jump that guys are making up front in the O-line, at the wide receiver position. Obviously, the running back crew is deep, and at the tight end position as well. Really, you see certain guys making big jumps at all those positions, and it's an offense that poses a lot of challenges. There's a lot of things that we have to answer every day and be ready for when we go to practice, which is obviously good for us.
Hey, Andy, just curious, because I'm going to ask Joe this later, but when you came out here and moved here, just how long did it take you to just get comfortable, like just living in a new city and that sort of thing? And I imagine just that process is substantially different for a guy like Rod or Joe and kind of, in the middle of a pandemic.
That part right there is different, right? So that's where it's different for me. But the bottom line, when I moved here, I lived in one of the most beautiful buildings in America right here. I didn't do much more than be in this building. So it was an easy transition. I got to be right here in the Disneyland of football every single day. So obviously it was a little different for those guys this year with the pandemic and the things we had to work through.
Hey, Coach, last week you got your first scrimmage under your belt. Going into the second scrimmage, what are the things that you'd like to see the overall defense improve? And what are your expectations going into tomorrow's scrimmage?
Yeah, in the second scrimmage, there's things that the operation, number one, you want to make an improvement on. And that's going to lead to the improvement in the execution and then the finish, right? And, it's tackle football, so we're always working tackling. And obviously with the layoff and the lack of practice time, we've really spent a lot of time working on tackling. And it's always about the pre-snap operation, all 11 playing on the same page. And then the execution. That first scrimmage last week, that was the first time we've practiced and it's all the same, but you guys know how it goes when you roll the ball out there and it's labeled a scrimmage, it feels a little different. So for some of those guys to be able to operate and be a little bit more consistent this time around, maybe some of the younger guys, some of the freshmen doing a better job with their consistency in the scrimmage, that's going to be exciting to see. And seeing the older guys really attack tomorrow is scrimmage number 2, because it's a big day. It's one of our last opportunities for those guys to be out there, all 11, and prep themselves and get used to playing together, like it's going to be on game day.
Coach, you were talking about some of the depth up front on the defensive line. There's a couple guys that redshirted last year that are in the 1-3 technique type guys, Keonware Hudson, Christian Williams. Tell me about what you've seen from them and how likely they are to be helpful to your front this year.
Keon is doing a great job. Keon is, playing a little bit of 3 technique and field side end for us right now. So he's doing a tremendous job. That's the thing. You guys know how the defense works. Guys are going to play multiple positions. And so we just want to see his consistency and at the point of attack and continue to build. And he's going to do some great things for us. The other one that you had mentioned was Christian. Yeah, it was Christian. Christian's having one of the best camps, most improved jumping in terms of jumping on the scene. He's done a really good job. For the younger guys, him and Dorless up front have done a tremendous job. Now it's matching that every single day and being able to replicate that. It's not just one day here, one day there. It's every single day.
What I've seen in college football so far, maybe you would agree or disagree, I don't know, Seems like the referees are letting guys get away with more physicality, breaking the rules, bending the rules. So if that's true, how do you teach that? Like, how much can a guy get away with in pass coverage, cornerback specifically? Where do you draw the line? I mean, it doesn't seem like they enforce the rules real strictly.
They're getting enforced at practice every single day. They're getting called out there. So we're always about teaching the fundamentals of technique and especially the finish, because that's where you see it happen. You either see it happening in the transitions when wide receivers are getting in and out of routes, or in the finish part. And so we're constantly coaching that up. And you know what? We're really, really hard on the corners in the secondary, and the linebackers, anyone in coverage. We're hard on them because that comes down to fundamentals and technique, and we want to be clean. We want it to be like it needs to be on game day. So for us here, it's neither here or there. On game day, you never control, what those guys in the striped jersey are going to do. So we set our own standard and we work to meet that.
That's Andy Avalos, Oregon defensive coordinator. It's kind of interesting. I think it is more physical, right? I think pass coverage in general is probably more physical now than it ever has been. Some of that's because guys are bigger and stronger. It's also just because I think there's a lot more athletes that are playing the cornerback and safety positions now, for sure. I think that the depth at those positions has really increased as football has evolved, if you will. Up next, we're going to hear from the other side of the ball, and offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead, as we finish up Duck Insider, talking offense next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Hundo P. Hundo P. Adjective. Short for being 100% sure or certain. As in, if we get a puppy, I'll Hundo P always walk it.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, inside the Country Financial Studio, getting ready for the Toyota OSN Classic tomorrow, the Rose Bowl game. And then next week on Halloween Saturday, you can spend it with us and our preseason special. We'll have a bunch of highlights and interviews and so many different things for you to really preview the entire season. We'll also just kind of talk about the state of college football. That's coming up on Halloween. And then we've got the Rose Bowl. I'm so excited to listen to the Rose Bowl again. Toyota OSN Classics, 11 a.m. tomorrow. We'll be live from Autzen Stadium. Let's hear from Joe Moorhead. What does he want to get out of tomorrow's scrimmage? Ducks are scrimmaging tomorrow. Big evaluation day for the coaching staff. Where's the offense at? Joe Moorhead on that and more.
Hey, Joe. This seems like a century ago at this point, but back in February, you talked about how good of a fit this was not only for you, but just for your family and everything. And then obviously the pandemic hits and I'm just curious, like, how that process has been of just getting your family adjusted and everything in a world where it's probably hard.
It's been good, and we kind of started the whole journey out in the beginning of June with a 46-hour RV ride. So we decided we didn't want to do the whole airport and plane travel thing, so we bought an RV and drove cross country to get here. And it was, for first-time RVers, it was very interesting. But we've settled in nicely. Obviously, a lot of the things that you'd like to do in the city and the surrounding area, just because of kind of social distancing and things we haven't been able to take advantage of. But we've done Crater Lake. We've done a bunch of the falls. My daughter will be a sophomore here at UO. My middle son is a senior at Marist, and he's playing football. And my youngest one's in 7th grade at O'Hare. So we've really enjoyed the city. We've done as much as we can, but it's been a very positive experience for us thus far.
Joe, as you guys try to settle this quarterback competition, we've been hearing so far that Tyler's still pretty much working with the ones exclusively and AB with his twos. Will you try to get Anthony some looks with the ones tomorrow? Is that the plan, or how do you try? And in the next few days forward, also with Wednesday's kind of mini scrimmage, how do you plan to take this the next 4 days of practice?
Yeah, Tyler's been working with the ones, and as you mentioned, AB with the twos. We're going to sit down this afternoon and have a little personnel discussion and talk about reps heading into the scrimmage. So we'll kind of make those decisions this afternoon. But yeah, those guys have both done a very nice job. I think we've seen steady progress, throughout camp thus far, and the young guys are improving as well. But yeah, we just want to, come out tomorrow and, see the entire offense play with a bunch of physicality, create explosive plays, while limiting turnovers. And I think they've, like I said, have taken positive steps thus far.
Hey, Joe, I think you guys returned some known commodities at receiver, and there's quite a few guys that we just haven't seen a whole lot of. I guess what's been the progress of some of these guys? Devin Williams. I know we saw Brian Addison last year, but that's another young player. Chris Hudson, we've heard a lot about. Kind of what have you seen from some younger guys?
I think first and foremost, Coach McClendon is doing an awesome job with those guys in the room, providing information, getting them motivated, getting them to play hard with a high level of detail on the field. But yeah, they've all had their moments. Devin made some nice plays yesterday at practice and carried that today. Chris Hudson's got a lot of speed, a lot of explosiveness. Addison's done well when we've seen him in there. So I think you got, as you mentioned, Johnny, Red, and Micah played a lot of football last year, and some guys behind them that are, looking to, kind of make their mark. And I think, like I said, they've done a nice job, and I think Coach McClendon has done a very good job with the room.
Just wanted to touch base on, I asked Andy this same question. Without fans this year, I'm sure you, as much as you would love to have fans at Autzen Stadium, are there any advantages to not having fans on the offensive side of the ball, maybe communication-wise, or maybe on road games? Do you see any pluses at all when it comes to not having fans this year at games?
We're certainly going to accentuate the positives of not having it, and obviously, I haven't experienced it, but everyone I've talked to said that the home crowd and environment in Autzen Stadium is one of the best in the country. But I think from a home game perspective, obviously, if things aren't communicated and there's not a crowd roaring, you're going to be able to yell things out on the sideline, and the kids will be able to hear them. And then for road games, you're not challenged with some of the stuff of, the crowd getting cranked up on a third down and having to use, a certain cadence or a certain level of communication. So those would be the two biggest things that stick out to me relative to, lack of, fans or crowd noise.
Hey, Joe, obviously replace the entire offensive line. That's high on the to-do list. But when you think about Coach Cristobal's background in that area and Miraball's experience, is that a situation where you just kind of trust the five they put out there and don't worry about it a lot, or do you have a big hand in trying to figure that puzzle out too?
I think with anything that we do offensively, and obviously with Coach Cristobal having a background in offensive line play, it's a collaborative effort. But to have the kind of say benefit or advantage of having two guys like Coach Cristobal and Coach Mirabal in the same room when you've got to replace the entire front five in addition to Panay, obviously, it's a huge challenge. We've been mixing guys in and out and using different combinations across the board. But with their level of expertise in conjunction with the talent we have there, and I think what we're doing fundamental technique-wise and schematically to put them in a position to be successful, I think we're going to have a high level of confidence in our offensive line, entering game one.
Hey, Coach, moving into tomorrow's scrimmage, I know it's the second scrimmage for you guys. What are you expecting to get, maybe that you didn't get in the first scrimmage, or that is just different about the next scrimmage?
I think we want to see a higher level of precision and execution. As I mentioned before, creating explosive plays and limiting turnovers. And I think the biggest challenge from a broad strokes perspective is, this is essentially your fall camp is like your spring ball. And a lot of what we're doing, and we've just about finished our installation, that the kids are hearing and executing for the first time, and kind of exacerbated by the fact that you're going against an unbelievable defense. And when we go out there every day, Coach Avalos and his staff have those guys coached up. They're playing very hard. It's a very, very complex and unique scheme. So, you're trying to put a new offense in against an unbelievably coached defense, and do it all at a very high level in a short amount of time. And time is not our friend, but the best thing about it is, as it pertains to the culture of our program, a lot of people are doing the same thing around the country, and Coach Cristobal has made it very clear that we're not going to use anything as an excuse or a crutch. So, we're just fired up to take the next step tomorrow and just continue to increase our level of execution and precision.
Hey, Coach, great to hear your son plays for Marist. I played there myself a couple of years ago.
Go Spartans.
Yeah, go Spartans. Early camp standouts. So, I just want to get your opinion of, like, who's catching your eye and, like, who are you very pleased with at this point after a couple of weeks of fall?
I think it's different people at different times. We've talked about the quarterbacks at length. Very exciting to see CJ Verdell and that running back group operate. CJ, great season last year, and he's a very, very explosive back. Coach Mastro does, a great job with that room. We've talked about the depth at the tight end position, putting the pieces in place at O-line. And, I think the guys that have come back and that you've seen play, Johnny, Jalen, Micah, CJ, those guys have all had moments. And then, the young guys are continuing to impress as well.
One of the things Andy talked about on just such an accelerated schedule is cutting the fat and focusing on important things. And one of the things he did say was mental health. And I'm just curious of how much of a conversation that is with your players, especially this year, and how maybe that's evolved throughout your coaching career.
Yeah, I think it's, it goes back to, once again, the culture that coaches created here, that, the players don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And, from the top down, we make a concerted effort to make sure that our guys are doing well, and always asking them the questions of how are things going off the field? How are things with your family? How's social life? How are your academics? And, when you take care of those things, it makes it a lot easier, to focus on coaching them.
Thought that was a really pertinent and interesting question with everything that's going on in the world, as Joe Moorhead answered that. We obviously didn't get to the entirety of his interview or Coach Avalos' interview. They are available on the Goducks YouTube channel for those of you who are interested to tune in for the rest. Also didn't hear from Stephen Jones and George Moore. We just ran out of time this week. What we've got next week: Coach Cristobal talking to the media tomorrow after the Ducks scrimmage. We'll have that for you on Monday. Toyota OSN Classic, see you at 11 a.m. from Autzen.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.